We're glad that you are here. We've made it kind of a tradition to celebrate. We celebrated her first year, and then we've celebrated on year 5, year 10, and then year 15. So thank you so much for giving up some of your time this afternoon to come eat with us and just come hear what the Lord has laid on our hearts to share.
For anyone wondering who I am, if you don't know, my name is Reagan Stevenson. I was supposed to cry. You know, growing up was really weird, a little different, but I never felt like I was not an ordinary child. If you looked at me, like from those pictures, you would never know that this little girl had a heart transplant. And honestly, I didn't know. For a while, I didn't really understand what it was. It was just a normal childhood going, just a regular old little girl, and I would just have to go to Houston sometimes. And going to Houston was always so much fun. It never was a burden to go. It was always a lot of fun. I would say when it was January 2020, before the COVID all started, I was careflied to Houston. I had the chicken pox, and I had strep, and I had the flu. And so I was misdiagnosed with chicken pox. They didn't know I had it. They told me I didn't have it, and then my pediatrician, is that it? He was like, "Oh, you have chicken pox," and so I was like, "Oh, okay." And so I didn't really understand how big of an issue it was until about that moment. And I would say I'm incredibly grateful, and this is really weird, for COVID-19. I don't think a lot of people would say that. But for me, I'm incredibly grateful for that, because that is when the Lord started to grow. That is when my faith grew. Whenever I talk about my faith and my walk, I always kind of illustrate it as walking through a road. You try to walk straight, but there's always the hills. You have to go up and down, and then you're always taking a left or a right turn. But to have the Lord in our hearts, you always turn back and you go on the straight road. Gosh, sorry. I'm not gonna lie, about an hour ago, I did not have my speech written out. I didn't really know. I knew what I wanted to say, but I didn't know how to put it into words. I prayed about it, and I'm incredibly grateful for my parents and the family I have. Hi, Nathan. No, be quiet. If you are ever around my family, you know that we are very competitive, and we're very, I wouldn't say we're mean to each other. We're just, we're just mean to each other. But I'm so grateful for my siblings, because without them, I don't think I would have been as tough as I am. I mean, my oldest brother, he's not here, Nathan, he used to chase me around the house with a stick. And, I'm really grateful for that, because I don't think I would have been as tough as I am. My siblings always gave me a hard time putting my bed in the shower, my mattress, So yeah, COVID-19 hit, and that's when it kind of clicked for me. It was kind of like, oh, there's a reason that the Lord did this for you. I think for me, it doesn't get me teary-eyed when I talk about how I had my heart transplant. I'm totally grateful, but what gets me really teary-eyed is talking about the family that lost a child. I had to make a speech for speech and debate, and it was something just like we wanted to share, and I wanted to share about my heart transplant. And I looked up how many hours, or like how long you have to make a decision to give up your child, their organs, and to donate them, and it's 4 hours. After your baby dies, you have 4 hours to make that decision. And that's so heartbreaking to me. if you're ever around me, you know that I am always with the kids. I would rather spend time with the children. I'd rather go play on the playground with them. And you know, I'm really grateful because I love kids. I think they're so amazing. And it's just so difficult because they lost their baby and have to make that decision. And I think about that, and I think that if my parents had to make that decision, if they were in that place, how incredibly difficult it would have been. But and I keep saying that, but I'm so incredibly grateful for everything. For the Lord, no matter what happened, that my story would be a way to the Lord. And it would point to the Lord. One of my favorite songs is called "Run to the Father" by Cody Kane, and I'm going to read a verse from it. I run to the Father, I fall into grace. I'm done with the hiding, no reason to wait. My heart needs a surgeon, my soul needs a friend, so I'll run to the Father again and again. You saw my condition, you had a plan from the start. Your Son for redemption, the price for my heart. And I don't have context for the kind of love I don't understand, I can't comprehend. All I know is I need you. And it really hits hard to me. My parents, when my mom was explaining a little bit when I was little about what my heart transplant, or like how the Lord goes in your heart, you know, my heart needs a surgeon, my soul needs a friend, so I'll run to the Father again and again. And I think about that, and this last year, I went through a really tough time of my faith. Of friendships, of relationships, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do in my life. And there was a moment in time where I just wanted to end it all, where I didn't want to be here. I didn't know what to do. And this song played one time, and I remember I went to the bathroom, and I was at school, and I just started crying, because it hit me that there's a Lord that loves you, and he puts you through these hard times so that, and even though there's dark through a tunnel, there's always a light, and that light is the Lord, and you will find that light. You just have to live for him. And so after what I went through, even after my heart transplant and all that stuff, I wanted to live for the Lord. I wanted to be a testament for him. You know, people would come up to me and be like, "You're a testament because of your heart," and they would like say all that stuff, and it was always really confusing to me, because I was like, yes, I am, but I'm not, but it's not coming from me. It's coming from my parents, it's coming from family and friends, and that's amazing, and I'm so grateful for everyone who was by our side through it all, or beside my parents through it all. But it never came through me. It was never from me. And that's when I knew that, and I wanted to share my story through my words, and through my actions, and through my soul. And so my mom was talking, and she was like, "When are you going to talk about this speech?" And I was like, "I don't really know. I'll figure it out when I get there." And I think that I want to talk about what I want to do with my life. I want to share the Lord, what He's done for me. I want to be a nurse practitioner. I want to, and do it for children, mostly for kids. And then I also want to go into the mission field. My mom has always gone on mission trips, and I never really understood what she was doing. She was just kind of leaving for a couple weeks, and I was like, "See ya, I've got to go." And so, but now that I look at it, and I'm like, that is something I want to do. That's something that the Lord is drawing too close to my heart, because there's so many people out there who don't know His goodness, who don't even know Him, who are not even allowed to know Him. I want to be that person. No matter what the future holds, I want it to all be pointed to the Lord. Me and my dad one day were praying before bed, and I remember I prayed that if it was the Lord's will for me to go home and to leave this earth, that I would be peacefully, and that my family and friends would have peace, and know that it was all for the Lord, and that my life would be pointed to Him. And my dad, and I remember at the end he told me that was so beautiful, because not a lot of people can say that it's okay if I have to leave her, sir, that it's okay. And people last week, they were coming to me at school, they're like, aren't you afraid? I said, I'm not afraid at all. I'm going to read Proverbs 31:25. She is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. She speaks with wisdom and faithfulness, and faithful instruction is on her tongue. And I wrote a little note, and this was a while ago, and I put, it's talking about her spiritual walk with the Lord. And I really think it really got to what I want to say with the point is that I'm very grateful for everyone. I think I've had a conversation with at least almost every person in this room. Yeah, I'm incredibly grateful for each and every one of you. Yeah, that's about all I'm going to say.
When I look at Reagan, it's hard to watch this stuff, isn't it? It's, to me, the last 15 years, it's kind of like a series of little pictures. You know how you're looking at through an album? But there's bits and pieces of them that I remember. And I just remember the time was Rex called me, and I met with him and Stacy in my office. They said, "We just need you to pray for Reagan." She was a little bitty baby, just before she coded. And I remember the time when you called me. We have decided to fight for her life. And I said, great, that's wonderful. And then one of the things that really captures the sense of what you're saying, Reagan, is one of those times before you got your heart. My wife and Stacy were sitting there, and I was holding Reagan, trying not to make her cry, because crying would send her heart rate going over 200 beats a minute. And it was very dangerous. Her heart, as the video said, was not pumping at the time before she got a transplant. It was simply shimmering, functioning at 5%. And I still remember, Stacy, when you and Kim were talking, and I remember Stacy saying to Kim, I know that God can heal the heart that she was born with. I know that God can give her a new heart through a transplant, but I also know that God can call her home, and that would be the best gift for her, is to see her Creator God. And she said, I'm just so thankful whatever happens to Reagan, that I have had this opportunity to spend time with my daughter here in this hospital. Of course, that was 15 some odd years ago. And as you can tell, she's grown up to me. But I love the heartbeat of that family to understand. But I still remember, and it's one of those things too, as I was driving, and I was crying on the road. I couldn't hardly see where I was going. I wiped the tears off, and I was thanking God for giving Reagan a heart. And I don't remember how old she was. She was 5 when she was baptized in her church, because she had put her faith, when Christ called her to salvation, she responded by faith. So, Reagan, come on back up here. I just want us to pray for them. And let us pray. Father, thank you so much for this wonderful, wonderful gift, Father, of faith that you have given this family. Reagan, to hear her talk about that she's not afraid to breathe her last breath.